I'm hoping. All right, so let's talk about it. So the idea being that we need to communicating with our customer. I'm trying to put this in terms of how this is going to come across to you in the test. In the test, you're going to have some multiple choice questions. You're going to have some short answer questions. You're going to have some true false questions. But it's going to be kind of questions of the type of, well, how do you close a telephone call? How is an ACD, an automatic call distributor, how does that work? And these type of things. It's good. So the topics that are in here, there's a lot of slides. Let's get looking at it and get going. So how powerful is the telephone? The main idea that you have to get from that is, though we have lots of neat technology, telephone is still a key technology. And I guess the reason for that is something that we touched on before, is because we're human beings and we're trying to deal with human beings. And, it's not easy to replace that with technology. Yes. So we've got some techniques that we need to go over. How do we answer a phone call? How do we finish a discussion on a telephone call? Those things will come up in this lesson. Okay, so as it says there, the telephone is the main way that we communicate. There are other tools that we use, but telephone's not going away anytime soon. There is a note there about developing our skills on the telephone, and also about consistency. The consistency thing is meaning that we answer the telephone more or less the same way with each call. That could include even having a checklist that we go through, but mainly, and you'll see this as we come through the lesson, the main thing is that we always identify ourselves. Hello, this is Mark. We say where we're from. I'm from the IT help desk, and then we ask them a question. How can I help you? And you'll see that come through. So some things to consider: if the user has to wait a long time to answer the call, or for you to answer the call, that's going to be a negative. And so that's referred to here, that they're not going to like that. Then how it is that you speak to them, because all they can hear is the tone in your voice, and we touched on this in a previous lesson. How it is that you sound, that's going to affect the way that their impression of the way that you're dealing with them. So it talks there about frustrating and impersonal. Yeah, if the person has to wait a long time, if you're messing them around, you're putting them on hold without asking, yeah, there's lots of things that you could do that would make it frustrating for you. But what we try and do is make it as positive as possible. If you've dealt with somebody on the telephone, you'll notice that they tend to talk to you a little bit differently than when you're talking to your friends. They have a professional sort of way of doing that. And it may be something that they even went to a training course to learn. So here's some technologies that are related to the telephone that are found in a service desk. I don't know if you guys have even come across a fax. It's kind of an old technology. It's an analog technology, and it's still around in some places because of its analogness, which makes it harder to hack, I suppose. But generally, we are using voice over IP. We've got all kinds of tools now, right? You can do voice over IP using WhatsApp, using Skype, Messenger. All kinds of tools have it. And bear in mind that some telephone companies will try and block those voice over IP packets. So what tools we're going to use in the help desk? These tools can be expensive. The cheapest way of doing it is just, we could just have people using their mobile phones, I suppose, and sort of pay for that, or we install some kind of automatic call distribution system. We could even have a system which is tied in with our databases. And you might see that come up in this lesson. Voice over IP, the idea of that is, I don't know what you know about IP, but Internet Protocol, instead of having the old way, which was analog sort of waves of different amplitude and different frequency, just like a person is speaking, how the modern telephone works is it's digital. And so all of the data is broken up into packets, and then the packets are routed through the network. That can be, the type of packet could be an internet packet, internet protocol packet, which has special headers and footers. And the idea that the benefit of the internet protocol is that the packets travel independent of each other, and that saves a lot of cost because you don't have to hold up a end-to-end session. The packets can sort of travel through the network in the most efficient way that you can imagine. Imagine driving in a car, and you had a train, with 500 cars all stuck together, and trying to drive that through traffic. That'd take you a long time. But if you broke them up into the 500 separate cars and let them go through, they'll filter their way through the traffic and get there faster. That's kind of the idea of IP packets. Voice over IP is we're using our internet connection, and we're using some kind of software that allows the internet connection to carry the telephone call. And I mentioned some examples of those. It does save a lot of money because generally the call is not identified as being an international call or whatever. It's just identified as being a person using their internet connection. And so, you pay for that by the month or whatever. It's not a sort of a per call charge. So it's a good savings, and it certainly opened things up in the world a lot. Now, voicemail, this is the thing that we all have on our phones and hardly anybody uses. And you can even put it on your mobile phone, right, on your account. Basically, you answer, not the person is answering, but the phone system is answering, and then they record a message from the user, and from the caller, and then the person who missed the call will pick up that message later. Now that has to be stored somewhere. It's going to be stored on a server, and now that server could be in the, for example, Rito could be in their network, or you could have that server on your own private property or in your own private network. This technology diagram is trying to represent that. So you can see there different boxes of the equipment that are part of a voicemail system. And so the outside caller is calling in, and they get answered not by a person, but by a recorded message in the PBX system. And then if they decide to make a recording, then that recording is going to be stored on a server. Then later, coming from the other side, later the the person whose voicemail box that is, can collect that message from the server. I'm going through this bit quickly because my recording, Telecom SP can save lots of money by canceling voicemail. There you go. So the idea of the fax, as I said, it's an analog. So nowadays, none of the networks that we have is an analog transmission. So why do we still have a fax? Actually, what the fax machine has to do is it has to take your analog message, convert it into a digital message, set it over the network, and then convert it back to an analog message on the other end. Some people do see it as slightly more secure than some other forms of information. And so there are some people that require you to work with faxes. But nowadays, we've got all kinds of encryption that's possible. And so most people have sort of abandoned fax. It's not sort of required as much as it was. And I think you could probably do business without fax. So the ACD, the automated call distribution, automatic call distributor, the idea there is that the person calls in and they receive a menu, and based on the menu, they type 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for that, and then their call will be routed depending on which menu option they chose. And so, for example, you can even choose 1 for Arabic, 2 for English, and then you get the message comes up in that way. And then you can say 1 for customer service, 2 for bank accounts, something like that. And then at the end, you probably have an option which says dial 0 if you want to talk to an operator. And so, yeah, so basically in an automated way that is being routed by this system for you. And so you're going to have a phone like that if you're working in a system which has an automatic call distributor. You have a phone like that if you worked on anywhere that has a PBX. So yeah, anyways, automatic call distributors have been around for a long time. You guys definitely, you've called somebody with them. So here's another diagram sort of representing that automatic call distributor. The cloud at the bottom represents the channels that people outside of your business are trying to use to get to you. And then they contact a box in your system, which takes their call. And then those calls are going to be routed based on, you see the agents here, we have different agents, we have different skills. And so different agents will receive different calls. That's a division of labor. The idea of that people can be an expert in one area, and that's a lot more efficient use of their time. And so we refer to that as skills-based routing. Skills-based routing, that is, depending on the problem that you have, the type of skill required, that will go to the person that has the kind of skill to answer that. And then those calls can actually sort of be saved in a server system. Voice response unit. So the idea there is that you can talk to the system and the system is able to information from your voice. We've all got this. I mean, what I mean by that is you got Siri and you have Cortana. These systems that are built into our operating systems now on our mobile phones and our Windows devices. So we're all become. This slide is a little bit old, so that was a big thing back in the day. Now we got all kinds of things where you can talk to systems, and the system is able to take our voice and use it, translate it into actual symbols, words that can then be used in the system. Right, so there's a problem with technology. We've really gone so far with technology, it really is improving. The idea of this slide is just that if we rely on technology without sort of sorting out the people issues, we can get ourselves into trouble. They kind of work hand in hand. We actually have to have supported people there to work with technology. So yeah, ACDs, voice response units, good idea, basically. So computer telephony integration. The idea there is that you can talk to the computer and it can actually, using the voice that you've given it, so we've talked about that, those things, it can integrate with the computer system itself. So you, for example, you could start a search in a database by just saying some things. That might include this thing called a screen pop, where you say something, you say a customer's name or a customer's number, and then a screen pop would be something that come up on your screen with the details about that customer so that you could talk to them and have some knowledge. Very nice systems. First time I came across these kind of systems was not actually in this context.
Mr. Mark?
Yes?
Mr. Mark, can you please the previous slide?
Sorry?
I didn't get the previous slide. Can you go back to it?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, again, explain to me the CTI. I didn't get it.
Computer telephony integration, CTI. That means that
Yes.
you're talking on the telephone and the message that's coming in the telephone is working on a computer system. So you say something and then just by your voice, it could be used to query a database or something like that. Okay, so that's what.
So basically, it's like speech recognition. So to understand what they say.
Yes, the last couple of slides have been about speech recognition.
Okay.
But so it's more than just speech recognition. It's speech recognition plus integrating that with the computer system. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
So as I said, imagine you're a policeman and you stop somebody on the side of the road and you want to find out about them. What you see in the movies, right, is they get on the phone and they call to the operator and they say, okay, here's the plate number. But imagine if you just spoke to a computer and just said the plate number, and then up came all the details of that car, who should be driving it, when it was last registered, all of that kind of information. That would be voice. That would be voice and computer integration. So that slide there is trying to represent that also. So what the customer, you ask the customer, can I please have your customer ID or your name? And you take that ID and just by saying it, then the customer database is searched using that ID. And the example I gave with the police would be a similar one. This slide is just for a bit of fun. The idea being is, okay, so it's to answer the question, why do we do all these computer systems and stuff with our why do we add all of our technology to our service desk? And the reason is the same as every other reason, because the accountant said so, right? Or in other words, because it's going to save money, or else it's going to help us to get more money. For most companies, it's going to be to save money. If you introduce a computer system, maybe that means you don't have to have so many people answering the phone. Or maybe it means that you can have the phones up for 24 hours a day instead of just 7 hours a day, that type of thing. All right, so what do we got there? Yeah, take it. So what about, imagine you're working in a service desk and you're answering the phone. What are the things that you need to learn? What are the things that you need to do? You need to learn how to do these things, answer the phone, what are you going to talk about when you get on the phone that's supporting your message? What about if somebody's calling, but they didn't want to talk to you, they wanted to talk to somebody else, so you're going to take a message. How do we close the call? All of those things. So maybe you're going to have a script. That's especially true for service desks where they have products that they need to sell or a specific product that everybody's ringing about. Then you can have a script that'll work with that. So what about how do we answer a call? And I kind of mentioned this before. As I said, I'm kind of going through this kind of fast. I hope that's okay, but it's because we may only have this lesson before the test. So we need to say who we are, say our name, say where we're working. I'm working in the service desk. Ask them the first question, how can I help you? Here's the 3 examples of this. Help desk here, so they said where they're working, help desk. This is Mohammed, that's their name. How can I help you? Help desk, this is Nahla. May I have your name, please? Hello, options, this is John. May I have, so in each case, they did the 3 things. They identified who they are, they identified where they work, and they asked the first question. That's how we answer a call. Then once we're on the call, we have to do what we learned about in the previous lessons. You have to listen, try and understand the person, ask the questions that are necessary so that we will understand them. So that's active listening. On the telephone, we're doing active listening, which hopefully we've learned about a bit since we were there. Now, it could be that we have certain steps or a script that we have to follow. We shouldn't skip some of those scripts, some of those steps, just because we've spoken to this person before. Because the consistency, that is that we're answering the phone in the same way every time, that is helps the customer know to expect, helps the customer to be prepared for that interaction. Okay, so what if we have the person and they call up and they have a problem and it's something that's not to do with our service desk? What do? Well, we don't tell them to just run away, but we do the thing that we spoke about before. This is what I can do. We have a limited amount of things we can do. We refer to that as a best effort, but we don't. If we don't support a particular product, we will give maybe a minute or 2 to it, and we'll find somebody that will support it. We'll put them to somebody else. So that's something that we need to do to be able to send that customer to somebody that can service them better. And so, I think I mentioned this, there's always something we can do. We don't talk to them. We don't say to them, oh, sorry, we don't support that. We say, what I can do is this, but this person over here, Mr. Muhammad, he can really help you a lot better. And so if you like, I'd like to put you onto that call. Now, the thing is, we could be in the service desk and we receive a call and the person specifies by name that they want to talk to somebody else. I want to talk to Nahla, and I answer the phone. Well, the first thing we do is Nahla there? Nahla's there, then we are going to try and transfer through to Nahla. Supposing Nahla's not there or she's busy. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say, can I help you? Is it something I can do to help you? Would you like me to take a message? This type of thing, all right? Because it is possible that even though they were trying to talk to somebody else, that maybe you can help them. So you do offer to help. If they say, no, I need to speak to Nahla, you say, okay, let me get your details. Let me get your phone number, your name, etc., what it is that you want, and I'll make sure that Nahla gets those details. Now, in the old days, we used to write that down on a piece of paper. There'd be a sticky piece of paper like this thing in the slide. We stick that on the person's screen. Nowadays, we might be sitting there with a incident management system like OTRS, which I'm going to show you later. In which case, we might actually enter all of these details into a computer system, and that might actually be better. CRM. So here's an example. Jamil stepped away from the desk, and yeah, you're calling, and what are we saying there? Right, he's not going to be there. Can I take a message? Or can I help you? Can I take a message? Which would you prefer? And you may actually suggest to them that they go on hold, in which case you need to tell them how long they're going to have to wait, or you should expect to wait, and would you like them to call you back? All right, so at the end of the call, it's kind of important. Yes, thanks for the CRM note. It's kind of important that you close the call in a way which is going to be suitable to the customer. The number one rule in this is you let them hang up first. All right, so we don't just sort of say goodbye and hang up, and because the problem with that is that the person may have another question. As you're hanging up the phone, they might remember something that they wanted to ask you, and then they hear click. That's going to disappoint them. So rather than hang up, we're going to say to them, and you'll notice this in people when you're talking on the telephone with people, you're going to hear them say, or if it's a service desk, they're going to say, is there anything else I can help you with? And they'll wait. And that waiting is important, because if the customer thinks of something else, we don't want to be hanging up the phone while they're thinking on something else. That's pretty obvious. I say at the end of the call, before we do that, let the customer hang up first. That's actually step 7 here. You got 6 steps before that. We summarize the call. This is what happened in this call. These are the things that I agreed to do. These are the things that you were going to do. There's somebody's going to come to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. and you'll need this information, this product ID, etc. Is there anything else I can do to help you? Thanks for calling. Is there anything else? Boom. All right, so got some little terms here that we can use. Target resolution time, how long it's going to take to resolve an incident. Priority has to do with where we're going to put that how we're going to fit this incident into our incident management system. In other words, when it's going to pop up to be solved. All right, so and that depends on these 2 things: incident impact and urgency. Impact being how broad and how deep is the effect of whatever this outage is, and our urgency being when does it need to be solved by in order for them to be satisfied. So the shorter the time and the greater the impact, the higher the priority, the more resources, and the sooner we put the resources into solving that issue. Okay, so when we create a ticket's going to have a unique number. You'll see this when we use our incident management system, which is our lab number 2 that should be coming up soon. We'll have to do lab 1 first. I think I'll give you lab 1. So when we put the customer on hold, we need to ask them first for permission to put them on hold. Is it okay if I put you on hold? I think it's going to take about this long. And the time that we suggest to them that we think that the telephone call, the time that we think that they're going to be on hold, we have to sort of be overestimating on that rather than underestimating. So what I mean by that, if we say to them, oh, okay, you're going to be on hold for about 30 seconds. At about 45 seconds, they're going to start getting antsy. So if we think that it could be 45 seconds, we'll tell them, I think we're going to be on hold for about a minute. Is that all right? And then 45 seconds, you come back, they're not antsy. You know what I'm saying? If you think it's going to be 3 minutes, tell them 5 minutes, and then give them the option of would you rather we call you back. So you ask them, ask their permission. Can I put you on hold? Tell them how long. Then put them on hold as you need. Go get the information that you need, and then get back to them within that time. So here's an example of that. Mr. Tummer, may I put you on hold for approximately 2 minutes? And when you're saying that, you know that you're probably going to be back in a minute and a half. Okay, I'll be back to you in a minute or 2. And then when you get back, you thank them for holding. Thank you for holding. This is what I found out to solve your issue. Okay, so we've got these 3 different kinds of transfers. I like these terms because they're easy to remember: hot, warm, and cold. The temperature there relates to the number, so your input into the call. So supposing the person calls and you want to stay on the call, you're required. So it's going to be like a conference call. So you're going to be in the call, customer's going to be in the call, and so is another person. That we would call a hot transfer. That's a conference call. A warm transfer is going to be where, so we mentioned the hot transfer. That's when you need, there's some information that you need to provide. So didn't do warm transfer there. Oh, well, we'll get to the speakerphone in a minute. Oh, well, no, the speakerphone has to do with the conference call, right? So if you got a conference call, it's possible that you got more than one person in a room speaking to them on the conference call, in which case you must let the person on the other phone know that you've got 2 people or more people there. You need to identify everybody whose voice might be heard on the call. Otherwise, the customer might feel like you're sort of ambushing them, sort of ganging up on them, people that they don't know who they are. Yeah, so if you're going to use a speakerphone, any other people that might be involved, you need to identify. So we got to warm. Yeah, right. So yeah, that's the conference call. Still need to give permission for that. So the warm transfer, we just did. So the last couple of slides was about the hot transfer. Warm transfer, that's where you're going to provide some information to them. Maybe there's a lot of data information or background stuff that you have to transfer to the agent who you're connecting the customer with. And so that happens at the start of the call. Once you've introduced the customer to the agent, transferred all the information that you need to transfer over, then you'll excuse yourself from the call. So there's the idea of the warm call is there's a lot of sort of interaction at the start of the call, getting it going, and then you leave. So just gonna leave that. So the cold transfer, that's the third type of call. And what happens there is that the person calls and they say, look, I want to talk to Muhammad. And they know Muhammad and you know Muhammad and you've got his number and you just say, oh, just wait a second. And you just put them through. It's a cold transfer. All you're doing is putting them through without sort of too much interaction with you, because it's probably the case that the customer and Muhammad have some sort of history of this issue between them. You're not really required in the conversation, and so don't insert yourself into it. If there's a bunch of information that you have that you do need to insert into the conversation, then you're going to do a warm transfer. Let them know, and it could be that the person's not available. Do you want to call back, etc. All right, I think we went through that pretty quickly. When I see this slide, I know that's wrapping up towards the end. The idea there is that you can do training on how you can best answer a telephone. And there's lots of courses that are available. Nowadays, most of those would be online, I suppose. And so here's some examples of some training that you could do. There's this company called Bluebird, etc. There's lots of them. Now, this point here is about the fact that you may have a call and you record the call. And in which case you're going to tell the user, the customer, that I'm recording this call. This call will be recorded. So usually actually that will be if it's an ACD transferred call, and you'll know that because it'll say, this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes. The idea there is that the quality and training purposes means that the agent and their manager can go over the call and see how things could be better. And that's the idea of monitoring. So monitoring could be just automatic, but usually what happens is it's used by managers and agents to improve the quality. Exactly. The other thing that you can do is, and I've had this myself, after I've had a telephone call with an agent, especially if it's been a long one, I might receive an email or an SMS from them, which is, would you like to answer a survey about the call? And, and so then you've got a chance to, as a customer, to say what you thought of that call. So you should be aware that that could happen if you're answering telephones, that the users that you're talking with could be asked to fill out a survey on what they thought happened in the call. And so that's called a customer satisfaction survey. And it could be distributed by an email, or it could just be a link that comes up and distributed by an SMS or something else. So the last couple of slides there, the idea there is, the human being side of things. Show your caring attitude. If you're the type of person you really like to help people, you really like helping people solve their problems, really working at a service desk is going to be a great place for you. And a lot of stuff that you'll do on the telephone will help you. I mean, you're going to be able to help people just answering their issues. A lot of them are going to come to you with frustrations. And as you sort of solve those frustrations, you might not feel that they're being so grateful because they're just frustrated, right? But there will be others that are very, very grateful. And so it can be rewarding. And so we did get through the entire chapter. I'm kind of surprised. I had to talk really, really fast. I hope that's okay. So any other questions? Mohammed's got a point there about customer relationship management, CRM systems. CRM systems are often big computer systems that are integrated with things like our PeopleSoft. We have a CRM that could be integrated with that, and they could have a They could have they could be, what do I want to say? They could have a front end which involves telephone. Is that the point that you want to make, Mohammed? Could be.
Yep.
We had some people in this course before that work for Arido. I don't know if you do, Mohammed, but those people, they actually go through, I mean, big courses on this stuff. I mean, they become like experts in this. So there's a lot of training that you can do in this, and they have a lot of tools available to them. Yeah. Sorry, were you going to say something, Mohammed? I'm sorry, I'm talking so fast because I had a lot of stuff to get through. I want to make sure that I got through it all before the time ran out. You going to say something?
Yeah, can I see?
Pardon?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Yes.
Hello, is my voice clear?
Yes, it is now. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I just wanted also to add, when I added the note about the CRM, is actually, yeah. So basically, one of the slides, I mean, 3 slides before, that when a customer, for example, is looking to have the call transferred to another agent, the current agent need to transfer the call and check if he's available. But also, I would suggest that that agent who is transferring the call to have just a note why the customer is calling. So when he transfers the call, he tells the other agent that, for example, Mr. Mark, our valued customer, is calling regarding 123. So when you call the other agent, it's like the other agent is ready for your request. So you don't need to repeat every time you request. You get my point?
Very good. And that's a very good point. Now, with systems like we have the OTRS that we're going to use, every time we have a call, we make notes, and that goes on the ticket, and that stays with the ticket. So when the next representative looks at that ticket, they can see the history of everybody who's spoken about it. Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
so it's a live history. So when you transfer the call, immediately the other agent can see exactly why this customer called. Yes. So the first agent who picked up your call, he should have very fast written some points about your request. So when the other agent just pick up your call, he's actually just read exactly what you called. So imagine when you say the other agent name is, for example, Nahla. So Nahla said, "Hi, this is Nahla. How are you, Mr. Mark?" So you say, "Fine." So she said immediately, "You are calling us for 123. Is there anything else?" That will be sweet.
Yes, it is very nice. And there are systems that allow you to do that. Definitely. You can keep a track of everything.
Yes, sir.
And I've actually had experiences when I've been talking to customer service reps where they've said things to me like, "Oh, look, I'm just putting a note on your file about this to make sure that the other person will fix it," that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very good. All right. So
thank you.
We got like 2 minutes left. I'm going to stop the share there. And I just want to make sure that I've marked everybody present who's here. Sorry. Yeah, I'm going to close that. So, are these people here? Mohammed, let's see that. All right. So I got, is Mohammed Abedini? No? Hind? I don't see Hind. Suleiman? You just yell out if you hear your name. Abdulaziz? I don't see them. Hamad Bajwa. Yes, there he is. See, he's present. And Hamad Metjab. Yes, no. Hamad Al Thani. So we had 3 like Hamads. Who's that just said yes? Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh. So that was Hamad Bajwa. Hamad Bajwa was here. Okay, better mark the person. I got him. Iman, are you here, Iman? Yeah, okay. Okay, so somebody likes to talk to me after this. What I'll do is this will end in a minute because it runs out of time. And after it ends, I'll open it up again, and whoever wants to come back on can come back on. Mohammed Shafi, yes, he's here. So the only ones that's not here is Hamad Metjab. Abdulaziz, Suleiman, and Mohammed Abedini. If any of you people here say yes, but I don't see them. Any other questions or points? I think that we've stopped recording. The meeting is going to end soon, just sort of automatically.